What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Even though the Clippers aren't fully healthy, they still have a scary good team going into the play-in tournament / playoffs. Now, hopefully Kawhi Leonard comes back where they will be, this juggernaut team, overly scary team that nobody wants to face. But at the same time, they still have a sneaky good team in regards to what they have. They did get Paul George back, who can give you 20, 25 plus points a game. And now you add a Norman Powell with Robert Covington, both who defend, both who are not, shy on defense, and both who are not shy to take big shots if need be, especially Norman Powell. He can come off the bench and give you 24 points just how he did, 20 plus points just how he did last night, going against the Phoenix Suns. And he actually led the team in scoring, where Paul George was the second leading scorer with 19 points. And as I said before, having a player like him come off the bench, he plays like an old school player that played on the Dallas Mavericks and Jason Terry several years back, who can come off the bench and drop 20, 30 points easily. And it takes a lot of pressure off the superstar players on a team when they have somebody who can come out and score at that type of clip, because it makes the other team respect them from a different aspect, because they got other scorers and people they need to watch out for. So when you look at that in its entirety, then the role players around, the other role players around that's on the team, and you got Luke Kennard, one of the best three-point shooters. Terrence Mann is a young, up-and-coming two-way player. He can play defense, really well, and he can knock down some big shots. So you got that there. Then surprisingly, they got, Hartenstein plays really good coming off the bench, as a big man. Zubac plays, he holds it down, fairly well. We should expect more out of Zubac, but we know his talent is really high, and he has to just live up to that a little bit more, which I think he will, and, they even got players like Amir Coffey, who nobody really knows about at all, but at the same time, he can drop numbers. I've seen him drop a couple 30-plus point games this year when his number was called upon. So it's like they have inside guys who can, or guys, that you don't even really know about, that's like basically shooters from a distance that can, hit you when you don't even see it coming. And then, when you look at adding Paul George back to this mix of this team with Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris and, Nicholas Batum and guys like that, they have a really solid roster with a really solid, star player in Paul George. And, Paul George is going to get back into his rhythm even more and more that he plays. And, Norman Powell came back the other night against the Phoenix Suns, and he played very well once again coming off the bench. And, you look at it from a standpoint of just with that team right there, they still have a good enough chance to go into the play-in tournament, knock off whoever they play, go into a 7-game series and give a team all they can handle. I mean, I'm thinking probably a 6 or 7 game series easily, whoever they play, if they, get past the play-in tournament, which I believe they will. So when you look at that in its entirety, this team is really sneaky good, even without Kawhi Leonard, because they have a lot of depth and they're so used to playing without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They're so used to doing that. It's almost as if they feel at home or they feel comfortable, you know what I'm saying? Because they had so much experience and practice without them. Even the young guys on the team, like, you look at somebody like I said, Amir Coffey, Brandon Boston. These guys have played meaningful minutes, for the Clippers throughout this season when they've been down 25, 35 points. And Clippers, came back to win those games, which was some crazy comebacks that the Clippers have had, throughout the season, which has made them a very, very interesting team at the least, going into the play-in tournament, simply because now a lot of people thought they would be eliminated easily if they didn't get Kawhi or PG back, but at least at this point now they got one of them back. So that definitely, makes teams stand back and look at them a little bit differently, as they should, because the Clippers are a very, very dangerous team, even with what they have on the floor now, because the two acquisitions they got in Robert Covington and, Norman Powell really makes them even more dangerous, because Robert Covington right now on their team, he might be their best one-on-one defender. He really might be. I mean, and then on top of that, we saw a game several days ago where he dropped 43 points, and I think they scored 153 to win, but that's my point. you have a player even like him who's known for defense who can have a breakout night on offense. And I feel like, one game in the tournament, any one of those guys can go off as well. And then on top of that, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, at least rated wise. So, they can play defense as well. And then, it just goes on from there with this team. So I feel like whoever plays them in the play-in tournament, or if they get past the play-in tournament, whoever plays them in the first round is really going to have a tough time with this team, even without Kawhi Leonard. Now, I will say this: if Kawhi Leonard can come back in that first round and find a way to just get a little bit of a rhythm and get his timing back, this team is definitely going to the NBA Finals, because now you have the main superstar back, and even though he doesn't have his rhythm, him being out there as a decoy could make this team dangerous, because you have to account for Kawhi Leonard. You can't give him one-on-one coverage forever, and you can't leave him wide open because he can kill you from three. He's a really good shooter. Kawhi does it all, and now he's added 4 or 5 assists a game to his game over the last couple years. Now he's passing the ball with, ease a little bit. So now that if you add him back, of course they're the most dangerous team in the NBA, and of course I think they'll win the championship, if he comes back, in which I believe he will come back. So even up until that point, or even if he didn't come back, they're still a really good team. And I still think it would be a tough out for anybody who plays them, whether they had one of their superstars or both of their superstars, because they're just mentally built different than every other team in the NBA. And I think Ty Lue just doesn't get enough credit for what he's accomplished with this team, not having both of his superstars. When you look at the Lakers, the team across the hall there, they had all 3 of their superstars a lot of games this season, or maybe not a lot. They had them some this season, and for the most part throughout the season, they've had at least 2 superstars on the floor, and they can't even be a 10th seed to make the play-in tournament, where it's really wide open for them or whoever to win it now, because there's no super teams built at the moment. So when you look at what the Clippers have accomplished, just as in playing with what they have, working with what they got, playing the best, getting the best out of, the players that they do have on the floor, Ty Lue deserves a lot of credit in regards to that Coach of the Year stance, because even though he's not going to win it because they're like an 8th seed, but they really have done a lot of good things even without their star players. And they, even in the midst of that, they made a trade for Powell and Covington to try to make their team better. And it was a very private trade that they made, but it worked out to the good, and it speaks volume how much that trade really can actually help them, especially not knowing at the time whether they star players will come back or not. Now they got at least one of them back with those type players around, and you got Marcus Morris, and you still got Reggie Jackson and the rest of the crew. They really are a sneaky good team regardless, and I just feel like whoever they play, they're gonna give them hell, and that's just the way it is. So I definitely anticipate seeing them in the play-in tournament, even though I know it's going to be tough whoever they play, because every team in the play-in tournament really has one mentality: one game elimination, winner take all, and that's the mentality they should have, since it's not like a 7-game series you're going into. So it's going to be tough, but I definitely think they're going to be a tough out regardless. But at the same time, I definitely hope they get through the play-in tournament, so we could see possibly if Kawhi Leonard can make a return, and come back in the first round, whoever they play, who I think if they get out the play-in tournament, I have a feeling they're going to play, either Memphis, or for some reason, you never know, they might draw a team like Dallas, again, it just seems like they always seem to draw the Dallas Mavericks. So, it's going to be tough, regardless, how they, how they play going into the tournament. But I definitely think it's going to be a tough outing for whoever plays them, because they're definitely going to be one of those teams that you just don't want to face. And they're well coached, and they're designed and they're built to actually win now, especially if healthy. So I definitely think they're going to be a tough out. And I definitely believe Kawhi Leonard will make a return for this team, hopefully. And, good things are definitely going to come when that happens, because that means the best player will be stepped on the floor. The best player will be out there, and then everything changes then, because if he can play to somewhat of the level he played last year in the playoffs, I mean, they're definitely going to the championship. Kawhi Leonard is a monster. He is a beast. He is a top 2, top 3 player when healthy, in my opinion. To me, he's the best player in the league when healthy. But, it's really going to be tough for anybody to play against the Clippers simply because they got so much versatility, so much defense, and they got plenty of knockdown shooters ready, waiting to shoot it anytime they get an opportunity. And Ty Lue is really good at making adjustments. So when you play the Clippers in a series, you got to be aware and look out for any and everything that can happen when you play them. And that's just the way it is with that team. And that's what makes that team so dangerous, even when they don't have Kawhi or PG. That's the reason why they still play to that high level, because the versatility that they have amongst players and how their players utilize their talents and how Ty Lue gets the best out of players that other teams probably couldn't get or pull the right strings. Ty Lue does it very well. He basically just has a very, very, open, comfortable environment that allows the players to be themselves, but they also understand that executing plays is what is expected of them at a high level, and all their players understand that. And that's the thing that the Clippers have the advantage of over every other team. It's like everybody on the Clippers understand we need to execute at a high level. Now, do they always do it? No, because they're not perfect. But at the same time, they do it. They've done it enough this year to keep themselves afloat. They're in the play-in tournament, whereas most people thought they probably wouldn't even be there by now. And actually, a couple weeks ago, they had an opportunity to get the 6th seed, and actually be in the playoffs. So, I mean, it shows how good their team really is, and it shows how tough it's going to be to knock them off when the tournament starts. And we'll just see how it goes, and got to see who their opponent is, and they'll just gear up for that and, take out these next couple games, get a little bit more rhythm with Powell and PG, and kind of take it from there, with the hopes and the likes of Kawhi Leonard coming back, where they could just basically take over the NBA. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section as always. And hey, Cali out.